Good evening, everyone. Welcome to those that have come out in the wet and also those that are staying home in the dry. It's dry here as well, but apologies from many people this evening that staying back to connect online. So we're not alone. Those that are here, we're not alone. There's others that are tuning in at this very moment. So let's settle in on this cool winter's evening, this wet evening, with our meditation. So mindfully settling in, settling down, our eyes gently closed, bringing awareness within, and having our initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath. Using that outgoing breath to carry away any stress tension that may have been building in our body over the happening of this day, the happening of the week so far. Breathing out, relaxing, releasing, letting go. Using this time to settle into our meditative mode, a mindful mode, a mindful mind state, a mindful mood, a way of being and knowing rather than the always often doing and thinking, coming back to basics, a relief, a reprieve, coming back to stillness, to inner silence, and some inner spaciousness, coming back to peace. And before bringing mindful awareness to the naturally occurring sensation of our breath, just bringing mindfulness to our body, this first foundation of mindfulness, the first of the four, sensing, feeling, noticing, knowing the body sitting here, grounding awareness in our body. Feeling grounded, settled, centered, present. Noticing and feeling a few contact sensations. Feeling our feet connecting with the floor. Feeling our body connecting with the chair, the cushion or meditation stool, whatever we're sitting on. Just sensing, noticing, feeling. Awareness of the placement of our hands and fingers. Contact sensation, hands and fingers. Relaxing the shoulders, the chest area, the abdomen, the belly area. Allowing the body to breathe freely. Noticing and feeling that soothing movement, the gentle rising and falling of shoulders, chest, abdomen, belly area. Relaxing into that gentle rising, falling, feeling the movement in the process of breathing. on the chest and abdomen, belly area, bringing our awareness up to our face, noticing our face. Even feeling the air connecting with our face. And maybe also noticing some degree of light connecting with our eyes. Even though the eyes are gently closed, we can still notice light coming in, some degree of light. So even looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through the closed eyelids. And maybe noticing a few background sounds, but not being distracted or disturbed by them. Particularly also any internal mental sounds or sights. All thoughts occur as a mental image that we see, a mental sound that we hear. But in meditation, we're not giving attention to those thoughts, rather choosing to bring mindful awareness to the naturally occurring sensation of our breath, each life-giving breath. And feeling our breath primarily at the nose, nostril area. So mindfully directing attention to that point of contact, holding our attention there to feel the natural flow of the in-breath, the natural flow of the out-breath, feeling each breath while also looking into the lightness, brightness through the closed eyelids. And if it's helpful to use a mental meditative word or two in the mind to help remain focused, and doing so, whatever words we feel are helpful, such words as calm on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath, calm, ease, calm, ease, calm, ease. Exercising attention, developing focus, leading to mental clarity, concentration, and inner calm ease. Please feel free to get some tea and biscuits before we have some reflections and discussion. Evening, Daphne. Who's your friend?
Cynthia.
Cynthia. Hi, Cynthia.
Mathilde.
Pardon?
Mathilde.
John. So in looking into the 10 spiritual virtues, psychological, spiritual qualities that 2,500 years ago, the Buddha recommended that we develop, that we use, that we interface experience with. So rather than interfacing experience with reacting, resisting, denying, distracting, clinging, condemning, we can relate to and interface experience from these particular qualities and virtues that certainly help to then create healthy relationship with whatever we're relating to, particularly if it's another person, persons or group, but also to reduce stress and suffering, our own stress and suffering, and the stress and suffering of others. So if we're relating from these healthy, wholesome qualities and values, virtues, ways of being, it enhances our experience of life and living, and can over time become more our general way of being. So it may be an issue that we're exercising and developing these qualities that are listed on the chart here. So putting in some extra effort or patience or kindness or generosity, wisdom. But in time, the more we use them, they become our natural modus operandi, way of being, which in a way gives also a sense of joy, a sense that we're growing, evolving, maturing as a human being from maybe how we were before. And life becomes easier. So these become our aids and allies, our spiritual friends in getting through life. The challenge is that often other people maybe aren't relating from these particular healthy virtues, but that's okay. The main thing is that we are, and that by doing so, we're offering a way of being that others might also start to relate from those as well. Especially if we can sort of model a sense of that we're able to be more calm and at ease, and as opposed to becoming impatient and reactive and overwhelmed. So it's like, wow, that's our being, becomes a sense of modeling a deeper sense of ease and well-being and joy in life, which certainly is what is attractive and most people ultimately do want. Feeling at ease, feeling content, feeling fulfilled, having a sense of meaning and joy, being happy. And in the course of looking through these 10, which we're doing over the 12-week period of the Vasa retreat, we're up to the next set of 3. In a way, just a bit of a reminder from what we had a look at on the Sunday retreat day a couple of weeks ago. So this evening, looking into the quality of wisdom, the Buddhist word Panna. So Panna as a word, Pali language, the Sanskrit word is prajna, which is used more in Mahayana Buddhism. So in the 4 main schools of Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism uses the Pali language, the older early Buddhist language, Mahayana Buddhism and Vajrayana, and also Zen Buddhism tend to use the Sanskrit. So the word for Panna is prajna. And just as a point on that, in the Mahayana discourses or scriptures, there's a particular group of discourses or teachings called the Prajna Paramita. So again, the wisdom virtue, and it involves a number of discourses that are seen to be quite significant, particularly the Heart Sutra and also the Diamond Sutra, a few others as well that people often do chant and reflect upon. But certainly this quality of wisdom, and again, wisdom's just a word, a word for, say, discernment, understanding, a more sort of conscious way of considering things and relating to life from, as opposed to just information or just knowledge, but a sense of a deeper intuitive sense of what's right, what's wholesome, what's correct. And in appreciating that, it's something which we can see that it does develop more by using it. The more we use wisdom in our life, the more it grows, and the more it becomes again a way of interfacing and relating to life. But if we wonder, well, what constitutes wisdom? What are the elements of wisdom, particularly in a Buddhist context? I remember when I was a Buddhist monk in England at Amaravati Buddhist Monastery, and the senior monk there, who is also the most senior Western disciple of Ajahn Chah, who I was with in Thailand. This monk is called Ajahn Sumedho. He's an American Buddhist monk, and one of his evening talks, he said to everyone that was gathered there, monks, nuns, and lay people, he said, "So, what is it? What is it that a fully enlightened person knows that we don't know? What do they understand? What do they know?" So we're all waiting, and then he says, "They know that everything is impermanent, fundamentally unsatisfactory, and that doesn't have any permanent sense of self." So the Buddhist words anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent, unsatisfactory because it changes, everything changes, doesn't last, no guarantees, and if it changes, there can't be a permanent sense of self in things that change, body, thoughts, emotions, etc. And sure, okay, we've heard that. Are we enlightened? um, and the thing is that we can know things, but what a fully enlightened person understands is that they understand it in a deep, profound way, so much so that it changes their whole perspective, their whole relationship to experience. So that the way in which they interface experience is through this appreciation, deep, profound appreciation that nothing lasts. Everything is changing. And because things change, it's not really helpful to cling and grasp because they will change. And because they change, they can't ultimately satisfy you. And all things as well are basically not, there's no permanent me to be found in roles, in identity, in personality, in body, emotions, in moods, in thoughts. And so that's really, really known. And therefore it changes and affects how they then see and experience life. So that in a way, it's that wisdom faculty, that wisdom understanding that makes the big difference from transforming from just information, the age of information, into knowledge. I know this stuff, but wisdom enables it to become more I am and I be this information. It's what I am, how I relate to life as a wise interface, a wise being. And in this way also we could say that spiritual wisdom, transcendental wisdom, transpersonal wisdom is always wholesome, because certainly there can be worldly wisdom, how to make a quick buck, how to make friends and influence people, worldly wisdom, but it may not be ultimately skillful and ultimately wholesome. It's more about making one's way in the world, but spiritual wisdom is always wholesome and is always coming from a sense of morality and goodness, and will very much have then a good result, especially in terms of it being used. Also appreciating that wisdom is something that um, doesn't really change over time. That's why we can appreciate that what the Buddha was saying 2,500 years ago is as relevant today as it was 2,500 years ago. It's not about a fashion. It's not about sort of customs and culture and traditions. It's more of a fundamental truth that, like a science, that doesn't really change, and therefore it's something really, really worthwhile engaging, learning, engaging, pursuing, developing, using. I remember giving a talk to a group of students at the University of Technology. Each year I was invited, when I was living in Sydney, invited to go and give a talk, a lecture basically, and a couple of tutorials, and to these students. And they were, this particular group was studying TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. And I said to them, like what you're studying, traditional Chinese medicine, um, mindfulness, meditation, Buddhist wisdom is something like that, in that it transcends time. Traditional Chinese medicine has been used for thousands of years, and it doesn't really change because it works. And even, our bodies haven't changed that much in the last 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 years. They're pretty much operating the same, and therefore the medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, is the same, whether it's dealing with the meridians in the body, acupressure, acupuncture, herbal medicine, and so forth. It's the same, and the same with the medicine of wisdom. Good wisdom doesn't change. It's still helpful and still healingful now as it was a couple of thousand years ago. And I said to them, if you find something that's like that, like TCM, like Buddhist wisdom, it's worth studying, developing, and using it, because it will support you for the rest of your life. Thing is that often, particularly in contemporary culture and 21st century, we've forgotten about the importance of wisdom. We've got caught up in the age of information. We don't even remember stuff. It's all just, you know, digitalized, it's on the phone, it's in the computer. We don't even remember stuff. So it's just information. So it's not our knowledge. And particularly wisdom, we've forgotten that that's really important. Wisdom will help us to reduce stress and suffering in our life. And if life is about meaning and joy and purpose and well-being, then the more wisdom that we have, the more ease and joy and well-being that we're going to have. So certainly something really, really important developing and pursuing. And with the list of 10, you can see that it's important probably to engage wisdom with every one of those. And so how we're generous, so being wise in our generosity, being wise in engaging morality when it's right and appropriate. Sometimes with morality it might be, well, I don't need to be so moral in the situation, but no, it's wise to be able to engage morality, virtue, and do the right thing. Engaging wisdom in terms of letting go, renunciation. It's wise to be wise. And also the wisdom of using our energy in the right way. Also the wisdom to be patient rather than just reacting, rather than getting stressed. It's important to be patient. Being honest, to see that maybe it is the best thing, the wise thing to be honest, because if we're not honest, then the truth will come out at some time and it'll be a cause of distress if we've been found out that we weren't so truthful. And obviously resolve or commitment, the wisdom of using a sense of commitment and resolve to get through things. And then also the wisdom of being kind rather than just getting angry and distressed. And also the wisdom of remaining calm and equanimous. So even wisdom discerns the degree, how much of these qualities to use, so that we don't overuse them, misuse them, or even underuse them. Wisdom is also able to appreciate the yes, the impermanence, the unsatisfactory nature of all things because they change. Also, the fact there's no permanent sense of self. There is a sense of self, but it does change over time. Also, wisdom appreciates, particularly as is spoken about in the Heart Sutra, the fundamental emptiness of anything substantial. Everything is empty of anything substantial, sunyata. Also, wisdom appreciates cause and effect, be able to see the relationship between cause and effect and discern, even seeing sort of, okay, what's going to be the result of this? If I'm doing this cause, what is the effect going to be? And is that worthwhile, wholesome, healthy or not? So wisdom's able to see and discern then what to do. In that, wisdom's also able to see the bigger picture, not just what's going on now, what I want now, and which may be nice now, but maybe ultimately in longer term, it's not going to be helpful. So better to go, no, let go, put it aside. So being able to see the bigger picture. Wisdom's also able to see the interconnectedness of all things, that which again goes through over time as well. The interconnectedness and what we might say and do does go on and affect things all the way down the track. And which also, because of the interconnectedness, we can see the importance of displaying compassion to others, because there is this fundamental interconnectedness between us all on different levels and layers. And wisdom is also able to see that it's important to be able to let go, to not cling and hold on. Most of our suffering comes, or stress comes from clinging, grasping, binding. At times, yes, we need to hold things, support things, but be careful of getting attached because things will change. And when they change, if we're holding on to, I don't want it to change, that's when stress starts to happen. And then when they do change, grief, anger, frustration, despair. So certainly wisdom is a healing balm to the heart that is otherwise caught up in confusion and distress. And the Buddha pointed out that really it's wisdom that helps us to see the truth of things and then to be able to not cling, not grasp, let go, which is basically underlying his teachings on the Four Noble Truths, the four truths about the sources and stresses of suffering. So yes, their first truth, there is stress and suffering in life. Second truth, there is a particular cause to that. The cause is clinging and grasping. If we deal with the cause, so letting go, then there's a little bit of peace. Let go ultimately, ultimate peace, the point of full, complete spiritual enlightenment. And if that's possible, which it is, then there is a way or a practice path to that, which is the fourth truth. So that there is stress and suffering in life, that it has the cause, that it can end, and there's a way to the ending. And certainly the whole of the Buddha's teachings are summarized in those four noble truths, which have had a look at times, and we'll probably talk about them again at times as well. But as a motivation to appreciate that this life that we have is this grand opportunity to grow in wisdom, to reduce our experience of unease and disease and distress through becoming a wise human being, as if maybe that's the the meaning of life, to evolve ultimately to full complete wisdom. And in this context of spiritual practice, that is the result of or results in enlightenment, full complete spiritual enlightenment, to the goal of Buddhist practice. So on that, any thoughts or questions, or how you might have been using wisdom in your life, or where you do need to use wisdom in your life, where you've seen the results of not using wisdom in your life? Brendan?
Yeah, John. Certainly, something I've done throughout my life is, a lot of planning, and I think through that, like excessive, imagining of different outcomes and different challenges that might occur, which obviously leads to a lot of like worrying about this might happen, that might happen. So more recently, I've been trying to look at that characteristic of wanting to plan and get the desired outcome and controlling what that outcome might be, and it's all wanting and craving. So trying to apply wisdom to that and understand that, okay, a certain amount of planning is all right.
Sure.
But when it gets to the point of trying to uncover all the possible outcomes that might happen, that's just excessive and not useful.
So what do you feel is underlying that obsession or overactive trying to sort of work it all out?
I think it ultimately comes down to wanting things to be the way that are comfortable for me. I want the outcome that makes me the most comfortable, the happiest. I want the situation.
The wanting.
Yeah, fits how I perceive.
Could it be also not wanting? I don't want to feel uneased. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to have complications.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess learning, trying to understand that process and what is driving it, so that I can. Again, it comes back to energy. Like consumes a lot of energy for that planning as well. Yeah. So, if I want to use the energy more wisely, then I need to approach that obsessive planning with more wisdom and learn when to, I guess, cut it off and say that's not.
So planning without being obsessive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Knowing the limitations of, okay, now it's going too far.
Yeah, that's good. I think we can probably all remember times when we haven't been so wise. Maybe at the time we don't sort of see that, but when we see the result, oh, shouldn't have said that, shouldn't have done that, then that's where there's also learning. Can I learn from that so that I can develop the wisdom from that situation that if that happens again, it's important for me to slow down, don't react, relate in a wise or caring way, be careful. That's getting wisdom.
I think what's been helpful in my practice is learning to, I suppose, rather than identifying with the experience as it's unfolding and then reacting or responding there, is just to have a perspective shift to be more identifying with the awareness of one step back, the awareness of the experience as it's happening rather than identifying with the experience. And in that space, it feels like there's, I suppose it's more spacious place for wisdom to develop. And I can see, the perspective is easier to be a bit more aware of having a chance to have a choice around the response rather than just being right there in the experience.
So that's good, but do you need to identify with or as even the awareness?
Yeah, maybe identify is not the right word, but just, this is where language gets a bit tricky, isn't it? It doesn't really sort of explain that position, because when you're talking about the anicca, dukkha, anatta, and then that kind of the freedom of that understanding, there's been, I suppose, a couple of micro experiences when I feel like I've been in that position of really understanding, and then thought comes in and then takes you out. I was like, oh wow, what's happening here? Why is it such a complicated, process to sort of be continually, not remembering this or forgetting this? So it seems to be a process of remembering a little bit, or awakening, or
so reminding, bringing back to mind, or bringing back to mindful awareness these aspects as a way of sort of the interface to experience is through the lens of knowing that everything's impermanent, can potentially be unsatisfying, unsatisfactory, a source of stress and suffering, and that it doesn't pertain any sort of substantial self-identity. So that's sort of like a wise lens of looking at life, which then allows us to maybe not so caught up or personalizing, clinging, or condemning, reacting, resisting, denying, distracting. It's more of a wise interface, which in itself doesn't need to be personalized, because the egoic self will try to personalize everything in terms of like, I thought I was my issue, but now I am aware. I am awareness. I'm this. I am the light of awareness, which could even be more problematic, because at least the issue changes and I'm changing. It's gone. But I am the light of awareness. That can be taken on to be sort of a big ego self.
Yeah.
But there is awareness. There is knowing, and even whether the issue with language, but we can play with language a bit to go, okay, there is awareness. As opposed to I'm aware, there is awareness, there is knowing, there is a thought, and so it's sort of like within that spacious awareness, there's a sense of flowing with that, and more possibilities.
It seems like the self, it just wants to own everything, doesn't it?
Whatever it can identify with. It'll identify something, identify with that, then identify as that. And seeing that process going, I was like, see that. It's the it's a mental activity, a neurologically based mental activity, the process of identification. And but whatever the mind is identifying with, that thing is subject to change, and even the activity of identification is subject to change, and even the subject sort of self is changing as well. I thought I was at this, now I'm at that. Impermanence. It's like this, the trying to grasp the wind. But you know, certainly a lot of the Buddha's teachings is about understanding and appreciating that there is no static, stable, enduring, permanent self. There's the arbitrary self, self as a relational tool to use just in conventional relationships. It's a program, what I call SOS, self-operating system.
Malware.
Yeah.
Well, it's not malware. It's a skillful device for relating, but the thing is that we need to be aware that the self-identity isn't an ultimate reality. It's a condition. It's a program. Daphne or
Cynthia.
Cynthia, any questions?
No question. No question. I'm just thinking of. Yeah. I could relate a little bit before you mentioned that we're in this age of information, and I think for me lately, or at times I get excited about learning about new things, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is so beautiful, and I get a bit consumed about it, and I over-consume information to the point that I think it starts zapping my energy. My mind became very full. I've become tired, and then I witnessed that, and then yet I still go because I'm excited to learn about this new thing. So I think, yeah, could be.
Which is good. You know, it's good to learn new things that are interesting, maybe even important for us, but also not to the point that we get run down and overwhelmed. So it's like the wise use of the learning process, the wise use of your learning capacity or energy for that, so that you don't just get burnt out learning things. More of a sustainable learning, pacing oneself. Yeah, so the age of information, yes, sure, but that's good. But we also need to keep that fundamental understanding of the importance of wisdom as well. Wisdom is sort of like IQ plus EQ equals SQ, spiritual quotient, as sort of a way of engaging and being. Otherwise we might as well just become a datum, just data. It's wisdom that helps us to feel more whole and more connected and more real and more human. So do keep appreciating and practicing wisdom, growing in wisdom as we move through the moments to minutes to hours to days, weeks, months, years, decades of our life, growing in wisdom and sharing the wisdom, so that wisdom is a wonderful gift to share with others, and can be even more powerful and important than just information and knowledge, because wisdom is what frees us from stress and suffering and complications in life. So thanks for coming out tonight. It's braving the weather. Well done. Get more merit for coming out when it's difficult and challenging. So great merit, blessings for coming out on a cold, wet night, and I hope you get home okay. So thanks for coming and see you next time.
Thank you.